Today, I'm going to talk about finding housing in Vietnam and share some tips from my own experience to help you navigate the process. I'm Sean, Queen of DC, full-time solo traveler. On this channel, I post my travel tips and adventures from around the world. If that's your vibe, subscribe. One of my subscribers asked how easy or difficult it is to find housing in Vietnam. When I first moved here, I stayed in service apartments and hotels. That gave me a chance to look around, explore different neighborhoods without rushing into a long term lease. Because what I've found is when people come here, they're rushing to get into a place. A lot of times, I need to find an apartment. Take your time. Then you come here to chill, just relax. They don't even know the city, the area. Take your time. But if you can, I understand because it can be more costly to do it just staying in service apartments and hotels. But Vietnam is the most affordable country in the world, and you can find anything to complement your budget that is in livable conditions. That's one thing that I see a lot of people doing that I would say check yourself and plan really well before you just jump into a lease without even getting to know the area. And I think that may take longer than 2 weeks. And I know people stay for a week and two and then they find them a place, but if you don't rush into a long term lease if you're going to do that. What are service apartments? Service apartments are fully furnished apartments available for short term and long term stays, and they come with hotel like services. You get furniture and appliances are included, utilities are paid, housekeeping, the hotel amenities. You get all those things for one price. They combine the convenience of a hotel, but the space and independence of an apartment. So my service apartments are apartments. They come with a kitchen. They're one bedroom, two bedrooms, studios, whatever you select. But it's just like an apartment. You typically may pay more over the month to live in a service apartment than having a lease, of course. But patience is key. It still may be your best option until you really find what you need. I know people who have run into scams, horrific landlords, and issues with their apartments. And quiet as it's kept, it's because they rushed into the process. And I'm not saying that these things don't happen, but the particular cases that I've seen, they rushed into the process. Taking your time is really going to pay off in the long run. One positive about housing in Vietnam, leases are negotiable. I mean, all things are negotiable and they do allow short term leases. You can lease for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. It's negotiable. That I love about the process. They move really quickly. The first thing you have to do before you even reach out to a realtor is write your list down. Make a list of all the things that you want, the things that are negotiable, the things that you can give or take. But you have to have a list because it's going to move pretty fast. Let me share my process and how it went down. I wrote out my list. Let me get that list for you. Hold on. Here's my list. I'm always adding to it. Also, have your non negotiables. But my list starts with a modern furnished one bedroom apartment. I wanted a new apartment. I didn't want an old apartment. I wanted a new apartment because in Vietnam, you're going to deal with mold, rainy season. It's nasty. And you got to be careful of those hidden issues that you may not see at the time that come during a certain season. So I didn't want to be located in a smoking building. I want a non smoking building because they do smoke in Vietnam. No mold or history of pest problems. Elevator, need an elevator. No stairs inside the apartment. I've had a loft apartment in Vietnam. I don't prefer that for a long term lease. Up and down the stairs to go to the bathroom. No, ma'am. Washer and dryer in unit. Strong Wi Fi. Air condition. Because air condition is not always in every room in Vietnam. If you do find an apartment or get an apartment that you like, and it doesn't have air conditioner in the front room, but it has a bedroom, make sure you test that air conditioner to see how far that air travels. They will provide you with a fan, but it may be too hot in that area for you to work. But check out the design and see what it's like. Another thing, if you need windows, you specify that because some apartments come without windows. Add that to your list. No apartments on the first floor. I don't do first floors. I can't deal with little critters, the noise, the constant traffic. As a woman, solo, 3 floors or higher. That's for me. No flooding and all of that craziness. Good natural light with large or well placed windows. That is important. No open plan shower, no wet shower. I want a separate shower, partition, or it has to be separate from the toilet. And walking distance to shops and restaurants and and a quiet neighborhood. I don't even know if that's possible in Vietnam, but let me define quiet neighborhood for me. Quiet neighborhood for me means I'm not dealing with constant construction right outside my window. You're going to have construction, that's a given, but not right outside my window all day. I want a neighborhood that shuts down around 10 p.m., where I'm not above the bars, I'm not on that scene, I'm in a quiet alley neighborhood. Yes, you're going to hear some kids playing and some karaoke from time to time, but I know the balance of a quiet neighborhood versus a really loud neighborhood, because quiet is still loud, but it's not loud, loud. And my neighborhood was chill by 10 o'clock. 1 o'clock, it was really peaceful and quiet. Vietnam has an ordinance about you have to stop the noise around 10 p.m. Those are the things that are important for me, and why you have to look at a neighborhood at all times of the day, not just one time. You got to look at it during the daytime, afternoon, and the evening. Here's where people really run into a problem. I had just left Japan. I spent 2 weeks in Japan, and if you've ever been to Japan, I walked my butt off. A wonderful trip. But by the time I left Japan, I was so tired. I was exhausted. And I thought I was going to go to a new destination, and then I realized, girl, you too tired. How can you look for an apartment in a new place when your mind is fatigued, you're overstimulated, you're tired, and you just want to rest? That's when you make your biggest mistakes, when you're easily prone to rush into situations that are not ideal, that you can't see, is foggy because you're tired. That fatigue is a mother when you out here tripping around the world living this nomad life. You start to feel desperate in situations like, I just want to get someplace and lay down. I just want to get rest. I'm tired. So you know what I did? I said, I'm going back to Da Nang, Vietnam. That's my spot. That's my where I go to recharge, regroup. I don't have to worry about, you know, where I want to stay. I know what area I want to stay. I know I need to go back to a place that I know, that I'm comfortable with, and that will give me the peace I need to rest and recharge. I reached out to a realtor on Thursday, told them, hey, I reached out to a few, and I said, I'm coming in town on Sunday to look for a place, and I'd like to move in that week. Because I know they move fast. When you reach out to them, you'll be ready to go. One was very proactive, sent me listings, and told me that when you come to town on Sunday, we can go look. And when on Saturday, he reached out and said, are you still arriving on Sunday? Yes, I am. He said, well, I'll be available. Just reach out to me when you come, and we can go look at places. He had been sending me apartments the whole time. And when Sunday arrived, I landed. I got a message from him saying, are you in town yet? Because I told him around what time I'll be available. And I said, yeah. He said, are you ready now? I'm like, can you give me 30 minutes? I'm finishing eating. And within 30 minutes, we were out looking at apartments. But let me tell you this: you can go look at apartments, but I recommend that you bring an extra set of eyes with you. You can do it on your own if you have no other choice, but if you can, bring those extra set of eyes with you. I am so happy I brought my girlfriend for a couple of places. She saw me out and I'm like, hey, I'm going to look at this apartment. You want to go with me? She said, sure. So she went to look at some apartments with me and she was able to spot some things while I looked here. She was looking there and had already been through the process. So she was like, hey, what is that? That's a water stain. That's mold. That's, no, no, no. What about this? What about that? And knew what to ask because she had been through this process before. And so she could walk into a place and say, hey, and we both could say, hey, this smell wet. What's that stain over there? So it's always good to have an extra pair of eyes with you, someone you can trust. Because let me tell you, that fatigue as a mother and you running through your mind and you thinking it's cool and you're forgetting what to ask for, what to look for. You can't see everything, but you're doing the best that you can. You're still, trying to put all this together. I had someone who I know, I wish they had reached out to me. They didn't want to bother me. But here's the thing: you don't have to feel like you're bothering me when you're paying for a service. This is a service that I offer. So if you're paying me to accompany you or for a consultation, then you don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel obligated or like you're asking me to do something for free if you're paying for my time and the service that in the end will benefit you. Because I wish I had known and been that second pair of eyes because I could have said, ask for this, look for this, negotiate that, walk away, basically helping you make sound decisions so that when you do walk away, you feel good either way. Here's one thing with the negotiation: if you cannot say no, you can't negotiate. You have to be able to walk away and be okay with that. Otherwise, you can't negotiate. They got you if you can't say no. That's the biggest tip in negotiation. And always flinch. You're like, whew, go negotiate everything. The realtor had given me 6 places. And one of the places, it was more expensive, I put to the side and I only viewed the 5. And we were rolling around and my girlfriend went with me to about, I think, 3 of them. I was like, I don't like these. This is just not it. This is not what I'm on. And when he dropped me off, because I was riding with the realtor, we went during the day and it was evening. I said, hey, what's that last apartment you showed me? What? He said, you want to see it? I said, yeah, pull it up. So he showed it and I said, he said, it's not far. You want to go see it? And then I thought, I can negotiate the price. I can negotiate the price. Let me see it. He took me to see this apartment. This is my apartment. I did all of that. This is my apartment because it was the majority of things on that list. It was a brand new apartment. Nobody had ever stayed in it, which I loved. Washer and dryer, partition shower, furnished, had a swimming pool. That wasn't necessarily important for me, but it had a rooftop. It had the air in the bedroom and it had a fan in the living room. So it wasn't an air unit in the living room. So that's when I went to testing to see can the air circulate throughout the apartment because it wasn't that big. So it should, but we're going to see how this works. Baby, let me tell you, it had closet space, had a balcony. It was sold me. I was already sold on the newness, but here's what's really important. What's really important is that bed. Woo! I got on that bed. I was like, oh my God, he don't know this. He could ask for more and I'll pay for this bed. When you've been living around place to place in Southeast Asia, bed's hard as a rock, Jesus Christ, you will pay more for the comfort of a good mattress and good bed. I lifted it up. It was new. It had padding. It was one of those firm ones. It was a grown folk bed. It had a headboard. It had a bed frame, and it was high. One of those little flat beds you laying on the floor, because I can't do those. Baby, that bed sold me. The bed sold me, and everything in there was new. I like the idea that nobody has ever lived here before. No nastiness. We negotiated the price, and I was looking around. I was making note. Now, this is very important. Before you sign anything, this is why it's important to have another pair of eyes with you. Take pictures, go around and look at that apartment and see exactly what it's missing or what you need, because here's your chance to negotiate for the things that you need or want in your apartment. Don't wait necessarily till you sign the lease. Get that stuff up front handled. For example, I was like, I need a side table. It doesn't have a side table. I noticed the windows in the kitchen and the bathroom, it didn't have a curtain or blinds. I need some blinds. I need some curtains. I had noticed that on the listing, they had a plant. I was like, I want a plant. I want a plant. I want a nightlight. I wrote that down too. I had a microwave. My girlfriend, she didn't have a microwave, and she negotiated a microwave for her apartment and additional dishes. This is your time to negotiate what it is that you want or that you need to seal the deal. Check everything at that time. I checked the TV, because it was a brand new TV, unplugged. I turned it on to make sure it worked. I made sure the air conditioner worked. I made sure the stove worked. I ran the water. But one thing I didn't do at the time was wait for the hot water to come on. When I left, I remembered I didn't check that hot water. I turned on the water and flushed the toilet, but I didn't check for the hot water. So that was something I noted that I would do. The washer and dryer. Just go through and nitpick. Nitpick like you're at home. He says, I can hold the apartment with a deposit. I'm like, man, it's like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. I don't have deposit money on me. I was stalling, which I didn't have the money on me. He said, I'll take you to the ATM. I was like, okay. I didn't put the full deposit down. I only put half of the deposit down. I would pay the remaining balance and first month rent only when I signed the lease. And I signed a 3-month lease. That was like, oh my God, 3 months. But I needed 3 months. And 3 months worked out. I could have gone longer, but why go longer when, let me see if I like it these first 3 months. I had the option to extend. Take your time. Take your time, because maybe within that 3 months, I don't like my neighbors. It's too noisy. Take your time. And if you are paying more than 3 months rent up front, baby, you better work out a deal. You better get some sort of discount. You should be getting some sort of benefit to make it worth it. Nobody should be handing over that much cash without getting something in return, whether it's a lower monthly rate or added perk. This is your time to negotiate. The Vietnamese people always negotiate. It's part of what they do in business. Don't be afraid to say no. That is how you negotiate. You have to be able to read signs and the nuances of people's behavior. This is how you get scammed. If a landlord is that adamant about saying no or refusing to work with you, ask yourself, how are they going to handle situations down the line? It's just something you should think about as you make your decision and weigh your options. They agreed to my terms. I agreed to their terms. I moved in 2 days later. So it took me one day to find my place. Here's what I did before I handed over that full month's rent, and before I handed over the remaining balance of my deposit. I did a complete walkthrough of that apartment. I went in there and checked everything. Regardless that I had checked it the first time, I checked it again. I checked the hot water. I checked that the refrigerator was working. Anything that I forgot to check, I checked. I made sure that everything was in working condition. I was happy with the deal and I moved in. And I say that to say you have to check those things when you come back before you sign those papers, because it may not be the same when you left it. Someone shared with me after they signed their lease and moved in, they realized nothing had conveyed. The dishware was gone. The high quality mattress was swapped out with a flat, cheap mattress. A lot of the household items they saw during the viewing were missing. It might as well have been a model unit because the landlord took out all of the important things. So now they had to buy everything themselves, and it ended up costing them more money than expected. And they even admitted, although they love their place now, they didn't get the best deal. They made some mistakes simply because they were fatigued and tired from traveling. And that exhaustion made them overlook things that they normally would have caught. That's why it's important to take your time, clear your mind, get another set of eyes, people who've been through the process that can help you ask the right questions or ask deeper, in depth questions that you may not have thought about. Probe your brain to ensure that you're making the right decision for you, one that you're comfortable with. I was really happy with my apartment and my landlord. Once my 3-month lease was up, they returned my deposit in the local currency. Everything was smooth and straightforward. So, to answer the original question, was it easy or difficult to find housing in Vietnam? For me, it was an easy process. I just take my time, I don't rush through the process. I say no, and I wait until I find something that I'm truly happy with. I never box myself into deals or situations I'm not ready for, and I'm never desperate. Because the moment you're desperate, you start making mistakes and settling for less than you should. That's exactly how people end up in bad apartments or bad contracts. There was a second part to the question. Let me read it. Has the change in the value of the US dollar against the Vietnamese dong changed how you live? The answer is no. Vietnam is still one of the most affordable places in the world. 1 USD equals 26,000 Vietnamese dong. My rent will fluctuate between $1 and $3. It's not enough to have a meaningful impact on my lifestyle. These are exactly the types of situations I help my clients navigate. If you're thinking about moving abroad, check out my How to Move Abroad guide. And if you want personalized one on one guidance, sign up for my Move Abroad strategy session at queenofdc.com. I'll leave a link in the description box below. I hope this video has been helpful. And if you take nothing else from it, remember, take your time. Rushing is how people make mistakes. Planning is how you win. Y'all better sign up for my Move Abroad strategy session. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, y'all. Peace.